6,000. I think that's probably all the way to the top. But nonetheless, that's what, for 4,500 feet, for those of you watching in the United States. Commercial aircraft cruise quite happily at that level, so yeah, it's going to be high. Just going back to what you were saying, Dan, about as they make a turn here and just keeping a decent pace, but not in hand at the moment. 5 minutes and 40, he's found another minute. Cavagna's going for this. I'm wondering if we're going to get another steal after Vlasov yesterday. Let's wait and see. Yeah, the reason for all the crowds that
disappointed.
So you thought you were seeing lights, but in fact it was just your specs were hampered. And indeed, just check Cavagna here. He's fully focused coming through this gorge. By the way, that last climb just beyond the feed was 7.4 kilometres in length, an average of 4%, but maxed out at around about 7 or 8. So it was no slouch, and neither is he. Really throwing the biker from one side of the road to the next. This is likely to be terrain that he's not fully aware of, so he doesn't know how the corners are opening up or tightening. And there's no vision because it's cut into a ravine. So it's dangerous times for him, and he's constantly having to recheck. And really that's an indication of how quickly he's going. So he doesn't know how this next corner is going to open up for him. So he checks, double checks, wonders whether he's going to have to lean the bike any further, so he raises the pedal just to make sure he doesn't ground it. Great work, he's doing a super job here, and you know, with the distraction of the camera upon his back, the motivation of course of glory, let's just hope he stays safe, because as you can see from the rather rudimentary barriers here, there's not much between you and the ravine.
No, it's very dangerous as a sport still, isn't it? Cycling, not too much they can do about it in many cases, but you don't want to be getting it wrong on a descent like this one. Incredible ride that he's doing though, isn't it? The gap has consistently risen since we got live pictures. When we started, it was at 4 minutes back to the main peloton, 1 minute back to the rest of the breakaway riders that were with him. If you've just joined us, Cavagna was the first rider to attack this morning. Sorry, that's all right. He was the first rider to attack this morning. He had Timothy Dupont of Circus Wanty Gobert for company. Then a counter-attack of 3 riders made their way up to those two, forming 5 at the front. They've been Johan Jacobs of Movistar, Jeremy Leveux. Sorry, I missed it again for the second time. Jeremy Leveux of Natura Forever Roubaix Lille Metropole, and finally Brian Alaphilippe of Saint Michel over 93. We didn't see what happened when he got rid of the other 4 riders, but we can presume it was on that climb that Carlson's just been telling us about, up towards the feed station. Cavagna obviously feeling too strong to stay with everybody else, and seems like he's made the right judgment, judging by the time gap he's got at the moment.
Scary stuff around here. Fires being strewn in this part of the world. They had some terrible fires last summer, you may remember, and scorched earth is kind of recovering. Here is this looks like Brian Alaphilippe actually from the breakaway. It's just about to be reabsorbed for Saint Michel Orbe 93. Saint Michel being Breton biscuits. Yeah, you can see some of the trees here are looking rather bald, having been licked by flame. At the moment, frying everybody is the man who's up the road, Cavagna. Now, they are going to be coming to this rather technical descent and ravines, and as a result, they, I think, are going to have to have less choice when it comes to a racing line. If they do string out to single file, which they're likely to do on quite a focused descent, then I think the advantage may well even go up. It was 6 minutes and 1 a few moments ago. It's kind of hovering around that, and the drive almost instantly taken on by Astana. A team that we're used to seeing out front. The likes of Thibaut Pinot are not the most confident when it comes to descending, and if this mattered and the finish line was at the bottom of this descent, we'd be writing him off right now. However, he's got his teammates mobbed around him who are going to try and hold his hand metaphorically down this slope. Meanwhile, this man has been really doing a phenomenal job. There's a lovely little bridge down. You're used to noting those and handing it over to the likes of Garmin Cervelo for victory.
Garmin Sharp, I think it was at the time. I know there's, Steve and Gilbert were both up there, so I'm kind of just showing me pro cycling stats and results for that particular day. So he's done it before, and he looks like he might well be able to do it again today. I still can't believe the weather. That there's no wind, and it's not just sunny there. I've barely seen any arm warmers on anybody.
Yin and yang, baby. Essentially, if it's lovely here, it's bound to be awful somewhere else. Well, I can tell you that in the United Kingdom they've got a storm. Is it Storm Dennis?
Yes.
Yes. Apparently Dennis the men is already appearing on headlines. Well, if it's not, it should do, and it certainly will tomorrow if there's any damage. But these guys, at the moment, the man who's issuing the wrecking ball against everybody, it's Remy Cavagna. He may well be making a steal, and as you quite rightly said, Dan, the word has gone out. They don't want anything silly to happen. And that's why you're seeing this response, and Francis Suger promptly getting engaged as well. They want to help out, buy the right to fight a little bit later on. It's they and Astana at the moment who are dominating the chase, but they're not finding any time on him. Not yet.
Not at the moment, and I think that the next 10 kilometres as they lead into the approach to Bédoin and the start of the climb proper are going to be crucial, because that's the point at which you can use your non-climbers to do their last piece of work. Their finish line is going to be at that sprint located in Bédoin, after which it's not going to be any use to the team. Cavagna's finish line is of course 9k's further on at the very top of the climb, Chalet Reynard, so he'll have to keep something in reserve. So if they want to start taking big chunks of time out of him, the likes of Duchesne, who are here on the front for Groupama FDJ, are really going to have to dig deep on that flatter road. Got into 2020, which you don't normally hear much of. What's starting to look like that might have been a mistake, because two of their key men from that trident have already had to delay the start of their season. Stephen Kruijswijk and also Tom Dumoulin not starting their season just yet due to various injuries and illnesses.
This is a man, we'll come back to them in a short while, but this is a man, Remy Cavagna. Now, he's used to rolling the dice from distance and has done so on occasion, and in fact got Grand Tour wins to his name. Well, one in fact. At the Vuelta last year, you may remember he shared some spoils as well with Philippe Gilbert. And a couple of others I seem to remember as well, but certainly podiumed and won a stage last year in the Vuelta. So just like Sepp Kusu we were talking about, could he carry the form out the back end of last season and into this? Well, he certainly looks sprightly enough, and he's decided, it looks like, to detonate the brake. I'm not sure whether that's because the gap started to tumble, but it's at 4 minutes and 30 before we came to air. We should get a time gap for you hopefully in a short while. But look at the terrain down. There's no respite here. If it looks like it's flat, well, it's a fib.
At least they've had a good day for it. They've lucked out with this race, haven't they? It was absolutely stunning yesterday. Maybe I want to go down to that region and ride my bike. I don't know if I want to ride up Mont Ventoux anymore, but they've, as I said, been lucky with the weather, because somebody was saying why they're not riding up to the top. Because there's a decent chance that there's still a lot of snow up the top, and there was a decent chance that the weather could have been bad in mid-February, even going up to Chalet Reynard. But the riders will be very thankful that it's beautiful blue skies and almost no wind, which is almost unheard of in this part of the world, isn't it?
It certainly is. In fact, as we said at the top of the show, it's the wind that blew the vegetation off the top. If you ever head out, for those of you in the United Kingdom, even further north to Shetland, famously a place with no trees, or is that Faroe Islands? Faroe Islands, sorry. No, it is Shetland. The Uist, they've just basically, no sapling has a chance of surviving. Well, today, as you can see from the trees here, just no arboreal movement at all. The only movement coming from these guys who are generating their own wind, so it's spectacular. So yeah, when they were organising this race, and I think when they decided to take on Ventoux, and this is the first time that this race has actually entertained the mountain, or vice versa, a strange omission really from a race in Provence with the mountain that categorises or classifies the region really, certainly characterises it, that's what I'm going to say. Why did they leave it for so long? I'm actually wondering whether it's because other races have kind of backseated the right, like the Ventoux de la Vie.
Won by a rider within this race.
He's a Serrada, and I think he might be a dark horse.
Well, I was going to get on to stage predictions later, but I know you're hoping Jesus Serrada will take one in today. Incidentally, he's got the Strava record to the Chalet Reynard part of the Mont Ventoux climb. Not sure where he sits actually in the overall, because it did go all the way to the top that one-day race last year. But not included in the Tour de France this year, this particular mountain. In fact, it's a Tour de France that doesn't use any of the really famous climbs this year. It is a very climby tour in general, but it doesn't go out the ways. I don't think it even goes up the Tourmalet, which they normally visit each and every season, but sure to be a good one still. So this will be only one of two opportunities to see the riders racing up Mont Ventoux this year, and I'm very much looking forward to it. There's your time gap, 45 seconds between Cavagna and whoever else is left of our breakaway, and 4 minutes back to the main peloton. To remind you, he started the day 4 minutes and 14 seconds down on the race leader Alexander Vlasov, so they've got this very much in hand at Astana at the moment, and being lended a hand by Groupama FDJ, who are showing some confidence today, Carlton. They've got a couple of cards to play.
Most certainly, it's a question of. Thibaut Pinot remains a mystery. They've come out of altitude training and they're all smiles around their bus each morning, and no surprise really. David Gaudu was also in that training camp up at altitude. I think it may well have been in Tenerife, if I remember rightly. Rudy Mollard was there, and so was Anthony Roux. They are all here, so we're hoping, for their sakes anyway, that they're all in the same kind of state, which should be one ready for action. It really is the day where you have to reach out for glory if you're going to try and win this race. Tomorrow, the run to Aix-en-Provence is no easy test at all. It's 171 kilometres, second only to our stage 2, which was yesterday. And you saw kind of fatigue level starting to reveal itself. There's an imbalance really for those who are on form, find it early, and those who are still looking. And Vlasov yesterday, well, 3-2-1 Vlasov, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, I mean, it was a dominant performance. I think it looked more spectacular than perhaps it was, just by virtue of the fact that there was quite a strong headwind and not really any domestiques left to do any work for the team leaders behind. Groupama FDJ were a classic case of that, really. They seemed to have two leaders in the form of Gaudu and also Thibaut Pinot, which meant that neither was willing to ride on the front for the others. And of course, when you've got a headwind like that, unless there is somebody willing to put their neck on the line and power up towards the finish, it does mean it slows down dramatically. We saw a couple of attacks trying to go up the road, but again, because of the headwind, very easy for the likes of Lutsenko and Aramburu to chase down. And that's, I think, the main reason why the gap extended so very quickly. But of course, Vlasov on tremendous form, obviously, as well. It's not a huge surprise to see him win a race like yesterday. He's been very promising for a long time now. In fact, I was looking at Pro Cycling Stats this morning. He's a former winner of the Under-23 Giro d'Italia, and if you look through the list of previous winners of that race, well, he's got some pedigree there, let's just say that. National champion, of course, won the stage of the Tour of Austria last year. Was also, you were telling me, Carlton, third overall at the Tour of Slovenia last year, where he beats Tadej Pogačar.
He did, and a few others, including Esteban Chavez, who had a terrific run and return to form. Excuse me. So yeah, he's somebody who we've kind of known about, and you wonder whether these.
I have an eye to look him up.
You wonder whether he's kind of like the full display or a cheap firework that's going to fizz into the sky and then end up in a car park somewhere. But no, he very much has found himself here, and he wears the leader's jersey, Piet Mondrian. Designed originally, of course, stolen by Look and everyone else. One of the most abused in terms of copyright, I think, artistic designs ever since Baron Bicot invented the Big Biro and it was stolen. Mr. Biro, Hungarian, was stolen by Bic and everybody else. That's the ballpoint. Anyway, making the point here, 44 kilometres to go. We are actually climbing. We have been for a while. You see the terrain. Remember we said it's not flat. None of it is, but no points on offer. They're coming to a feed zone. I think they may well have already passed through it by the look of everyone busy tooting away. We've got points jerseys here, which is, of course, it's a red sash. The young riders classification is green, and indeed we do have polka dots of sort, but it looks like somebody's taken some lead shot and fired it at a pizza. The designs here are challenging to view. I prefer plain.
Oh, do you? Well, yeah, I mean, you're in complete contrast to Marty McDonald, who is in love with the leader's jersey here, the Mondrian.
Well, it's just spotting it. I'm thinking purely in a calling sense.
Sort of selfish point of view.
Yes, very much. Yeah. There we are, dipping down. What will the French champion do here? Warren Barguil. He's another one, you know, with Arkea Samsic, a team looks like a smorgasbord selection of nearly men who've had some great days in the past and then all of a sudden have found themselves a home. And guess what? Nacer Bouhanni goes to Saudi Arabia, wins a stage, refines his mojo, comes here, takes the leader's jersey on stage one. Had to see that yesterday, of course, to Vlasov like everybody else. But with names like Bouhanni, Quintana, Warren Barguil, winner Anacona, a nearly man, almost an eternal nearly man when it comes to high mountain finishes. You know, these guys are great. Connor Swift, even Beltran and Maxime Bouet, you kind of have to leave those to one side in the pantheon of great names that they've got. Can they make them work together? That was the big call. And then this morning, Quintana gives Bouhanni a hug. What's going on?
I thought they were about to come to the front now. It's just to come to get the feedback. I think that is Winner Anaconda there. But I don't think I was alone in thinking that it seemed like a complete mismatch of riders. And I was slightly worried for Nairo Quintana that it would be such a huge culture shock that he wouldn't be performing anywhere near his best all season. But I think just by virtue of the fact that they've got off to such a good start should set them up really well for the entire season, because team morale will be high. They all seem willing to work for each other. Buwani was doing some work for his teammates yesterday. I was slightly surprised to see Warren Barguil on the front, on the flat and on the downhill preceding the last climb yesterday, because he actually didn't finish too far down in the end, even having done that work on the front. 50 seconds, I'm trying to find his name here, but I'm pretty sure it was 50 seconds, 54 seconds he is down on Vlasov. His teammate Nairo Quintana 34 seconds down on the Russian champion. So I just wonder if he hadn't used that energy, if he could have at least stayed in that group and have been another dangerous card to play today. Regardless though, they definitely seem to have gelled far more than I thought, and I think most other people thought they would do at the start. Is that time gap right? Do you think that suddenly jumped up by 1 minute and 20 seconds to the main bunch behind?
I think there's been handshakes all round for the 4 others from the breakaway, and they've decided that if Cavagna wants it this much in terms of punishment, then he can go straight off up the road. Yes. Sorry, I won't go there. I was going to make a segue there to the monks that inhabited the the seminary we just passed by, but I'm not. 41 point, forget that. Minute and 20, 5:20 though back, so you're looking at the virtual leader on the road at the moment.
We are, yeah, with 42 kilometres to go. So the climb proper, deemed in terms of the actual climb that we got on the profile on the race organisers road book, they say it starts with about 9.5 kilometres to go, so of course we've got just over 30 to that point, but as Carlson's just been mentioning, it does gradually climb all the way to Bedouin and for a little while afterwards before the 10% gradient starts. So it's going to be a tough one for Cavagna, but of all the people in this peloton, you wouldn't put it past him staying out front. He's one of those big engines, as we say, not one of the best climbers, not one of the best sprinters, but he can just put out an enormous amount of power for a very long period of time, and that works well on this stage. We've seen that in the past with Thomas de Gent, who, believe it or not, won here when the Tour de France stopped at Chalet-Renard. I say believe it or not, it was so overshadowed by the drama of Chris Froome running without a bike through the crowds, having crashed into the back of a motorbike, that people forget who actually won the stage. But it was Thomas de Gent, and I was seeing earlier on Twitter somewhere that he averaged for 4.5 hours that day 307 watts, which for anybody that's ever used a power meter is really quite mind-boggling.
Yeah, he's a man who can park pain, and it's quite remarkable. You think he must have another brain in which he stores all this angst, because he's the most chilled out rider or person you're ever likely to meet. Loves his camping, loves a bit of a barbecue. In fact, yesterday he apologised to